You also recently launched a Ripple ETF. Why did you focus on Ripple?
As XRP spent years struggling under regulatory pressure, why are Wall Street's major players suddenly entering an ETF race for this asset? Bitwise CIO Matt Hougan's statements reveal far more than a simple launch story. They lift the curtain on one of the biggest turning points in crypto market history. During the SEC lawsuit, no institution dared to touch XRP, yet now it has become a fund pulling in $107 million a day. So what's behind this? What if I told you the timing isn't a coincidence? Hougan's comments expose strategic calculations most people never saw coming. Throughout this video, I'll break down both what the market sees and what it completely misses. If you don't want to miss these kinds of analyses, make sure to like and subscribe, because in the next video we'll talk about the hidden partnerships that will drive XRP's corporate adoption. Matt Hougan's key point is crystal clear. XRP's problem was never the technology, it was uncertainty. While the SEC case was ongoing, no Fortune 500 company building real-world applications on blockchain wanted to take that risk. Imagine having a fast, low-cost payment infrastructure in your hands, but facing a lawsuit that could freeze your entire project at any moment. That is exactly what Hougan meant by an existential regulatory threat. The conclusion of the case in August wasn't just a legal victory, it was the unfreezing point of a stalled adoption cycle. So what changed? XRP can now compete on equal footing, and that phrase signals that the doors of the corporate world are finally opening. Many analysts miss this. The problem wasn't solved, the barrier was removed, and Bitwise moved the moment that barrier disappeared. Bitwise launching an ETF was no coincidence. The company had already reserved XRP shares beforehand. Most investors overlook this detail, but it's the core of the story. Bitwise quietly positioned itself while waiting for regulatory clearance. The first day's $25.7 million trading volume and $107.6 million AUM prove how much the market had been anticipating this move. But here's the real point. The ETF structure is an entry gate for compliance-bound institutional investors to enter crypto. Traditional finance prefers buying through regulated exchanges rather than holding the tokens themselves. Hougan's emphasis on high-quality execution isn't empty talk, it's the same language used by giants like BlackRock and Fidelity in their crypto funds. Bitwise is attempting to transform XRP from a speculative asset into an institutional diversification tool. And this shift is still in its early phase. Now here's a detail most people don't know. XRP's on-chain activity began rising weeks before the ETF launch. Large wallet movements and whale accumulation signaled that institutional interest was quietly building up. What Hougan calls Ripple's strong community is actually the long loyal investor base that has consistently created volume across exchanges for years. But the real game changer is XRP's Lindy effect, its long survival and proven network resilience. Despite manipulation claims and FUD campaigns, XRP managed to stay in the top 10 by market cap. That resilience is a confidence signal for institutional investors. Now that the regulatory uncertainty is gone, that waiting capital is moving. The ETF opens the doors not only to retail investors, but also to hedge funds and pension funds. And this is where things get interesting. Another notable point in Hougan's statements: XRP is now competing for institutional adoption. A token that was excluded for years is suddenly being discussed in the same category as BlackRock and Fidelity's Bitcoin ETFs. What does this mean? Simple. If we start hearing announcements about banks and payment providers integrating XRP, ETF inflows could multiply. Ripple's behind-the-scenes pilot programs and CBDC projects are not yet on most investors' radar, but they will be soon. Institutional adoption waves usually begin quietly. First testnets, then pilot projects, then full integration. XRP is at the beginning of this cycle. Hougan's line, "There's no guaranteed success, but there is a chance," actually means this. The risk-reward ratio finally makes sense for institutional capital, and the market has only started pricing it in. What comes next? Wait and see. XRP's story is not just an altcoin rally. It's a live example of how an asset overcomes regulatory friction and integrates into the institutional world. Bitwise's move wasn't accidental. Its timing, strategy, and behind-the-scenes preparation reveal what the market failed to notice. Now my question to you is, if XRP announces more institutional partnerships in the coming months, how will this impact ETF inflows? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't miss this train.